In this nugget, we will look at what Napoleon represents. In the novel, all the main characters represent figures from history, particularly Russian history from around 1917, which is when the Russian Revolution took place. Napoleon represents the Russian dictator Joseph Stalin. Who was Joseph Stalin? Stalin was a dictator whose leadership is infamous for its cruelty, executions, and purges. A dictator is a political leader who has complete power. They are not elected by the people. Infamous means famous for a bad reason. And to purge means to get rid of. Stalin would get rid of anybody who opposed him. Although Stalin claimed to follow the principles of communism, many people's lives actually got a lot worse under his rule. Communism is a belief in a society without class, where everyone is equal. Orwell based his ideas of animalism, which is a made-up philosophy, on the principles of communism. One of the worst things Stalin did was to intentionally starve millions of Ukrainians to weaken them so much that they would not have the strength or courage to stand up to him. As we've mentioned, Stalin is infamous for his cruelty and his ruthless ambition. Here are some of the things that happened under Stalin that Orwell references in Animal Farm. The Stalinist era is known for its purges and mass starvations. So we need to consider examples of animals being starved in the novel, or how Napoleon purges Animal Farm of its opponents to find the parallel with Joseph Stalin. Between 1937 and 1938, Stalin executed, assassinated, starved, tortured, and imprisoned millions of opponents. Many people were tortured into false confessions and then executed. Napoleon also executes animals who have apparently confessed to crimes. Estimates are that 950,000 to 1.2 million people died during what became known as the Great Purge. Task: go back to chapter 7 in your own time. To find the parallels between Joseph Stalin and Napoleon, look for examples of the following things: evidence that the animals are close to starvation, evidence of animals confessing to crimes they did not commit, and evidence of a purge of opponents through violent executions. Orwell saw in Stalin a symbol of how power corrupts. Orwell believed that power was a very dangerous thing if it was not shared democratically. In other words, Orwell believed that everyone should have a say in the direction a country takes. Orwell did not believe that any one individual or small group of individuals, like Napoleon and the pigs, should have all the power for themselves. The idea that power corrupts is a very important one in the novel. If power corrupts, it means that power destroys everything that is good. For example, the principles of animalism are good. However, Napoleon's desire for power corrupts or destroys all the animals' good intentions, just like Stalin's desires for power corrupted the ideals of communism. Writer's intentions. Orwell uses the character of Napoleon to warn the readers of the dangers of dictatorships and of totalitarianism. Totalitarianism is a system of leadership that requires everybody to be completely obedient to the leaders or to the state. In a totalitarian system, no one is allowed to say anything against the leaders or the state. Orwell tells the reader that it is dangerous to allow people to seize power without challenging them. According to Orwell, if people think that someone is trying to steal power, the people need to rise up and do something about it. If they don't, figures like Stalin, represented by Napoleon, will take control. In many ways, Animal Farm becomes a totalitarian state, as Napoleon, just like Stalin, takes full control over everything that happens on the farm. Whenever we write or think about Animal Farm, it's important to remember Old Major represents both Karl Marx and Lenin, Snowball represents Trotsky, and perhaps most important of all, Napoleon represents Stalin.